Well, to talk a bit more about that, I'm joined in the studio by Eric Lisann. He's a lawyer and legal expert. Thanks for being with us on France 24 tonight. First of all, pretty direct question. In your view, has the president broken any laws?
Technically, he has fulfilled all the elements of the crime of obstruction of justice. If he was anybody other than the president, a case surely would be brought. We see in federal courts around the United States routinely cases brought on less than this. However, this obviously has a layer of nuance or complexity that is unparalleled, because this is the president of the United States. He is the titular and actual head of the executive branch of government. So there's a lot of questions that go into whether to charge him or not. But certainly, if you take away the fact that he's the president, there are all the elements here. And the president has admitted himself he fired Comey for one main reason: to get rid of, quote unquote, this Russia thing. Everything Comey said today bolstered that.
Now, there's been a pretty furious set of denials from the White House tonight, from one of Trump's press secretaries, but also his personal lawyer. I don't know if you listened to that, who was speaking a little bit earlier. And he has said he, in fact, wants to, I guess you'd call it a countersue. He wants to countersue Comey, because he says Comey is sitting there leaking the details of what should have been classified conversations, private conversations with the president. What are your thoughts on that case?
Well, the president could have exerted or executed a claim of executive privilege. He did not. That would have looked even worse. And so there's no classified information here. So it's not a leak of classified information. It is interesting that Comey divulged this information in the way he did, but he's come forth about it. He said it was very important. The president is a liar, in his opinion. Not in his opinion. He's provided factual evidence that, if true, would support that. And he felt a very strong public interest was being served, and that this was his personal recollection. So it belonged to him personally, so he released it. The president will seize on that. Absolutely, the president is going to go about this as aggressively as possible, and there's not much other to seize on right now than that in terms of a diversionary tactic.
And Eric, a lot of parallels have been drawn between this, in fact, the whole Russia investigation surrounding the Trump administration, and the Watergate scandal, which led to the impeachment of the then President Richard Nixon. Do you see similarities?
Well, it reminds me of the famous David Bowie line, "Do you remember President Nixon?" In one of his songs. But obviously, there's similarities, and there's differences too, of course. But in some ways, the saying is, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. We know the president right now is not a student of history, and he has done things that are eerily similar. The famous, quote-unquote, smoking gun tape in Watergate is very similar to this, where Nixon is having a conversation with H.R. Haldeman, his aide, and they are discussing how do we get this investigation of the Watergate break-in under control. And Haldeman says, well, we've got to get somebody from the CIA side to tell the FBI to stop, because the FBI director, he's on our team, Patrick Gray, but he knows enough that he can't just order the investigation to stop without some valid, seemingly valid pretext. And Nixon understood that, but even then it doomed him. Here, the current president, it's remarkable that he does not even have that level of understanding of the consequences of how his actions will be perceived.
Well, quite, and in fact, that was a sort of a defense offered by the Speaker of the House, the Republican Paul Ryan, earlier today. He said, look, don't be too hard on Trump, because he doesn't really understand the workings. He's not a politician, as we all know. He's not been in politics for years. He doesn't know about the laws and about the protocol between the president, between the executive and the FBI. Is that a defense?
Well, you know, is stupidity a defense? You know, I mean, this is sort of damning by faint praise. Unquestionably, I think everybody would agree that there's a high degree of incompetence here. That doesn't necessarily mean it's criminally stupid, but on the other hand, it would be a remarkable level of incompetence not to understand the ramifications of some of these things that are done. If this is the best the Republicans can do, it's probably not a very strong defense. And it seems to be that they're conceding that what Comey, if that's the case, that what Comey said is accurate here. And Trump is saying it's not. So they're saying in this battle of who's more credible, some of them, even in Trump's defense, are siding with Comey.
Eric, thank you very much indeed. Eric Lisann, always a pleasure.
My pleasure.